What's up, y'all? I'm Josh from ThroughTheLens, and I have been very kindly asked by Aiden to talk about my top 4 in Letterboxd and my top 4 in my collection. So, I'm going to be talking about the top 4 on Letterboxd first, and then I'm going to talk about the top 4 in my collection. So, my fourth favourite film is Waves from director Trey Schultz. I think what Waves does, in particular, that hits me close to home is the way that it moves the camera around and the way that the camera is framed in those positions. The positions of which are extremely nauseating in the best way. It follows an African American family dealing with a said tragedy of which I will not reveal, but it is extremely powerful, and it's honestly one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen. The performances, some of the best I've ever seen from younger actors. Taylor Russell, she's so good in this. The performance is so real and so authentic. I believe that these people are going so far. It's just one of the best movies out there, to be honest with you, and I've seen it, like 10 times, and it just gets better and better with every viewing. And at number 3, I have Columbus from director Kogonada, a film about architecture and a lady's connection with the architecture as well as a person who is kind of moving into town a little bit. Every time I'm having a rough day, I just put on Columbus because it just reminds me to live in the moment and to also engage with the surroundings around us. It does deal with themes of depression and also anxiety in a really calming and nurturing way, because when we look at it realistically, anxiety and depression comes from within, but when we look on the outside, there is something to be kind of digested with that, and the relief comes from looking around us and realizing that, you know what, everything is okay. And finding solace in a building or finding solace in some kind of park, per se, yeah, it just hits. So that's why Columbus is my third favourite film. At number 2, we've got After Sun from director Charlotte Wells, and you will probably know that I haven't stopped talking about this film since it released. And yes, it's been edged out by something which I will talk about in a minute. After Sun, for me, isn't a film, it's rather just a vignette of a life, you know, witnessing a daughter's connection to her father and vice versa, while also trying to hold on to that one thing that she lost from him. Yeah, it gets me choked up thinking about it. As someone who has a very strong connection with their father, I couldn't imagine being in Sophie's scenario or in her situation, in her shoes, because at the end of the day, the film is dealing with extremely harsh subject matter such as death, such as depression, but it goes about it in the same way of which Columbus does, where it's kind of nurturing. Part of that is down to Paul Mescal's performance, which doesn't even feel like acting. It is like one of the best performances of all time, in my opinion. If you haven't seen After Sun, please watch it. It is probably film of the decade. Well, yeah, I'd say film of the decade almost. I've logged it 11 times on Letterboxd, which is crazy, but like Columbus, I put it on during times of crisis, and it just reminds me everything's going to be okay. And my number 1 film on Letterboxd is The Social Network, which, do I even need to explain myself at this point? David Fincher's magnum opus, Social Network, follows Mark Zuckerberg as he kind of creates Facebook, pretty much. Trials and tribulations that come with that, the friendships that are broken from it. I don't think I've seen a film like it. It dissects male behavior in ways that I don't think any other film has. How men's egos kind of overtrip morals. That is crazy that a director like David Fincher put that to screen in this way. Dark, muted color palette, editing, which... the editing needs to be studied in school, man. Like, this is some of the best editing you'll ever see, and some of the best music you will ever hear in a film. And at just over 2 hours, it somehow feels like one. It is one of the quickest films I've ever seen. If you love David Fincher, then you're definitely going to love this, because yeah, it is probably my favorite film of all time. So looking forward to rewatching it. I've rewatched it like 7 times, and it just gets better and better each time. Now I'm going to talk about 4 favorites which were in my collection. So I have picked these at random because every film in my collection I kind of love, except for some of the Marvel stuff, which I own out of obligatory. But you know, these 4, I just put them on all the time. They're amazing. So the first one I'm going to talk about is The Brutalist from director Brady Corbet, one of the best films out there, personally. A film about the American experience from the immigrant point of view. Tells the story of a visionary architect who travels from Hungary to the US. Extremely harsh stuff in here. There are some scenes in here which are not easy to watch. But Corbet makes a 3-hour or 3.5-hour film feel so digestible. And the 4K transfer is lovely. And yeah, it's not a film which I'll watch regularly just because of how harsh it is to sit through. But it is one of those films of which I just think is so important, especially if you want to get into filmmaking like I do. Incredible stuff, so The Brutalist. And then we have a movie release which I have seen so many times, and that is Worst Person in the World from director Joachim Trier. Film about naivety through the perspective of a woman trying to deal with her relationships, trying to deal with her life. Beautifully told with a really gorgeous screenplay. Like, this screenplay is probably one of my favorites out there. Some of the images in this film are just so incredible. Like the image which is on the back of the Blu-ray, it's etched into my brain. Films like this about certain subject matters such as love, such as lust, they don't come around all that often, so I think that's what Worst Person in the World really hits for me, is because it's about naivety which we all kind of experience, and seeing it from the perspective of a woman in her early 30s, it's like, yeah, existential crisis 101. It's one of my favorites, so that's Worst Person in the World. Then we have a recent release which is a Criterion, and that is Anora. Filmmaker is one of those filmmakers who can literally make anything, and I will probably love it. Every one of his films has hit extremely hard for me, but Anora is probably my favorite of his, just because of the way that it deals with its comedy, you know. It's one of the funniest movies ever made, and it just, yeah, it makes me laugh every time. And the humor doesn't come from a place of like slapstick, it comes from a place of like situational. Literally everything in this film is situational based comedy. And the 4K transfer, one of the best I own, and it's an absolutely beautiful release. Comes with like 3 discs and all that, which, yeah, as someone who loves Criterion and who loves special features, specifically like audio commentaries and stuff, this is like stacked. Like all of that on the bottom, special features. If you haven't seen Anora, please do. It's one of the best movies out there. Then the last one I'm going to talk about is Blade Runner 2049, which, do I even need to say anything? Just like Social Network. It's honestly probably the best looking film of all time. I don't think I've seen a film that looks like it. And that's thanks to Deakins. Roger Deakins, who, classic cinematographer, one of the best. He finally won his Oscar for this film, and rightfully so. It's so gorgeous. I don't really need to say much about it because I've spoken about it to death already, and I plan to do my own video on it. But yeah, that is Blade Runner 2049. This was a lovely HMV edition, which I got for like 17 quid when it was down in a sale, and I think it's pretty rare. So yeah, Blade Runner 2049. So those are my picks. Thank you so much, Aiden, for allowing me to be on the channel and allowing me to talk about these films, because I love these films and I hope you love them too. Everybody go sub to Aiden. He is an incredible YouTuber. I love watching his content all the time. Blu-ray hunts, etc. They are just amazing. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys eventually. Peace.
A massive thank you to Josh for coming on to the channel and taking part in this series. That was a great episode. He had some amazing picks as well. I really enjoyed watching this one, and I thank Josh again for coming on. I will, of course, leave a link down below to Josh's Instagram and his channel as well. So please do go and show Josh some support. And if any of you watching want to be a part of this series, all you've got to do is send me a message over on Instagram and I can get you invited on. So yeah, thank you as always for watching, guys. I will see you in another video coming soon.